Greetings. Here we are back once more. This time I'm going to cover the topic of how to reduce the propensity for loss and failure in your venture in the world of cryptocurrency. As you may well know, this is still a virgin territory. A lot of failures will ensue because of the lack of understanding. So the idea will be to be as thorough and precise as one can be in the pursuit of the cryptocurrency world. I've highlighted 40 to 50 selection of factors here, which will be for your benefit. And we're going to break it down into the following. Part 1 will be general. Part 2 will be exchanges and trading. Part 3 will be the coding and development. Then we have part 4, which will be the current state of the project that we are looking at. Part 4 will be obviously the social aspect. Part 5, the social aspect of this, the incumbent project. And then we have part 6, is the popularity of the project, which obviously has an impact. So there are various factors in these sectors that will obviously be involved in determining this. Right, let's dive into it, shall we? This represents part 1, general factors involved in the selection of the project of your intent. Now, I must mention at this junction that we are in no way providing any form of advice to those who decide to delve into whatever project as involved in cryptocurrency. So CryptoPrudence in no way is providing any form of advice, because we do not represent in any shape, way or form financial advisors. Also, this is clearly for our own experience, and in the process it serves as an educational journey, and you make your own decisions regarding your own issues. So moving on, the first issue we look into is whether the website in question is presentable. Now, what we usually do is we compare it to any form of business. So in the physical world, one would expect that when you approach a business or a building or a shop or a retail center. Alright, let's shoot ahead, shall we? We're starting off with website. Is the website presentable? Now, as you may well know, in the physical world, when you approach a specific type of business, appearances of a specific is of importance. Now, in terms of a website being presentable, what I will usually say to this is that, look, we put together websites on our own basis. For instance, CryptoPrudence was put together by myself and my team. And obviously there's a lot of work that went into putting this infrastructure together. Yes, like putting a building together, it needs to have a strong foundation, whether it be the infrastructure, the content, the information put in there. A lot of work goes into it. Also building the website itself. Yeah, is it appealing to the search engines and so forth? So all these things come into play. So if, for those who are involved in the project, that is the team who is putting the project together, are not as diligent in terms of putting their infrastructure together, which obviously is to serve the investors as well as serve the general public for which a service is being offered to, then that comes into question. So it's important that the website is presentable. I will say so, yeah, because that will obviously represent how reliable are these people or the team or members of the team within the group. So, and what level of expertise do they have? So for this type and nature of project, one will expect that obviously the developer, they have a developer, they have a website developer, they have a strong team in place to obviously cope with all facets of the business. Obviously the website representing one of them because it's client and investor facing. That leads us into the white paper, which is usually a technical or a scientific, traditionally has been a technical scientific format of representation, which is now obviously used in this field of the world of cryptocurrency. And generally speaking, it provides the incumbent, albeit a client or an investor, with an insight as to what the business is all about. So it draws in the reader as to what the business is all about, the intricacies of the business, and how such putting it all together will obviously make this project, business, campaign successful. That all facets of the project have been looked upon and delved into and analysed, and obviously brought into concert with the real world experience. So that is what, in my opinion, or in our opinion, as far as CryptoPrudence is concerned, looks to bring into play. Obviously, we're still learning. So as time goes by, we'll have better insights as to how things need to be crafted in this respect, which leads us to the roadmap. The roadmap representing what's the journey all about. What's the motorway? What does the motorway look like, or the pathway look like, and how are they going to contend? And they usually provide with at least a 12-month perspective as well. Usually, the longer the better. So at least they're projected and provided a foresight as to how they're going to deal with things in a space of time. So that's obviously very important. So you as a potential user or perhaps an investor will be able to determine whether it's worth it based on their roadmap. It's important that the project, coming onto time, effort and money, must be seen to spend time, effort and money. And I will emphasize on that because here we are putting CryptoPrudence together, sharing our experience with you. As I speak, there's a lot of work going on to the website itself. It's not there. It has a lot of parts of it that are still not functional. So it provides you with an idea of how things, difficult things are. So they must be seen to do so as well, because as we are putting CryptoPrudence together, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of money being put into this project in terms of crafting our way through the crypto, and we spend a lot of time on research. Like you say, when you put in high builds today, you have to pile deep and down low. You have to go real deep into obviously putting the foundation together, and that takes time, especially when you want to put together a strong building. Anyone who's obviously involved in architecture and construction will understand this. That comes on to the domain name. The domain name obviously represents branding, represents a well thought out name, represents many things. What thought has been put into it in terms of how it's going to be marketed, sold, utilized in the process. Obviously, I'm just giving you a brief pre-say of what obviously a domain name company can mean many things to many people. how long have they invested in this domain name. There's usually the argument, if you just invested in 1 year in it, it could represent a project which is not putting a long-term view on it. I would tend to agree with that in certain respects, because if you look at the larger corporate bodies, or even those who are serious about their project, you probably need to put in about 5 years, because when you're trying to market even online, your domain name online, one of the search engines, for instance Google, will look at the when your domain is about to expire. So this comes into play, which leads on to the next issue, which is the unique proposition. There are a lot of ICOs out there, for instance, as an example, and there are a lot of what I may call not very good projects. There are a lot of Me Too projects. So you have to be aching to making sure you choose the right company, because a lot of them are going to disappear, as they say, and many may end up disappearing with a lot of money. So you got to take your time and decipher these projects. Yeah, what's unique about it? What's special about it? Is it worth one's time, effort, and money as an investor in whatever project is involved, and so forth? And what's unique about the team members? Does it fulfill a prophecy, or does it fulfill a requirement? Does it fill a gap in the hemisphere? These are the issues that one has to consider. Is it well thought out? Furthermore, uniqueness. What is special about this project? As I've already mentioned, it has to be special, because it has to be said, you can't afford to be a lazy investor. It looks good or feels right. You have to craft a science to this, otherwise it will lead to a lot of losses, which we're looking to make sure that doesn't happen. Longevity and stability. Does it fill a gap? Is the project likely to be stable and last for a very long time? These are the issues that need to be asked. Could a change in the industry, or change in regulations, could that impact on the project itself? Is it subject to human capital? All these things come into play. Is it subject to the state of academy? Is it subject to regulations? Or is it subject to jurisdiction? One of the attractive things about this world of cryptocurrency, if implemented rightfully, is the aspect of, and obviously they serve or present themselves as legitimate projects, is the ability to conduct work without interference from a central body or third parties. So third parties meaning there's a cut down on the cost of transaction. Third party or centralized bodies who more or less skew the meritocracy of any type of project. Obviously, I'm more or less speaking in tongues, as you may call it, but for those who understand, let them hear. It's on to the issue of the tribal propensity. What do I mean by that? Well, for those in the know, they will tend to understand and obviously give credence to a project that they know ultimately will fulfill a need. As an example in passing, a decentralized exchange is a fantastic idea once we have a serious group of people who are able to implement that legitimately and see it through, taking a long-term perspective, of course. Tenacity on the path of those who are involved in the project, and also tenacity of those who have an intention to invest in the project. So taking the time to understand the project, to converse with those involved with the project, to interact with those involved in the project, and to create a democratized system, which obviously what the world of cryptocurrency is all about. So that will help. And there is something to be said that is always interesting, that communication is key in this process, and it needs to be improved upon. And many of these projects that yes, there's a lot of work to do, but it must be a format of communication that must be improved upon in this area. And that obviously contributes to the tenacity and the drive of the project, which ultimately can lead to the success of the project, so to speak. So that's all for now. We shall be moving on to the part 2 of the project, which will be talking about the exchanges and trading aspect of delving into different types of projects in the cryptocurrency world. Hope you enjoy this, and thank you. Bye for now.